Gus, first of all, tell us how John Callahan came to your attention. You're a Portland guy, you're a literate guy. Any one of these threads may have made this happen.
Yeah, I'd known John as really a local guy that you'd see racing on the streets in his wheelchair. He had very bright red hair, which got brighter as he grew older because he started dyeing it. It's like almost as bright as your hat. Um, but or I
That's why I
exactly
wore it in homage.
in his honor. Um, and he also, like, in the '80s, he was getting more and more recognized as a cartoonist. He was published in the weekly paper, the Willamette Week, and he appeared on 60 Minutes somewhere in, I think, '88 or '89, and he had written a book. Don't worry, he won't get far on foot. That this film is made from, and that was sort of my knowledge of him. He was a Portland celebrity, of which there were not that many, and it wasn't until later, when I'd worked on Good Will Hunting, that Robin Williams bought the book, independent of, like, myself, and he invited me to direct the film version of it, and to oversee the writing of, like, a script, which we did in 1997. We made a screenplay and gave it to Robin and his wife Marcia, they're the production company at Sony, and just sort of never heard anything back from them. And a couple of years went by, and in 2002 we were invited to make another script, like have another try at it, and made a second script with Patty Sullivan, writer, and that also, like, just sort of went into the system, and there was never any, like, okay, let's start gearing up to shoot. So we never really knew what was going on behind the executive doors. And years started going by. John was very, very, he was helping with the screenplays. He was, like, giving us lots of information. And he was sort of on the edge of his seat because Robin Williams is going to play him in a biography about himself. And he just, couldn't wait. And enough years went by, he said, we're all going to be dead by the time this film's made. And then soon after that, he died. And then soon after that, Robin died. But the book survived still at Sony, and Sony called and said, "Are you still interested?" So on spec, I wrote a script and got Joaquin on the line to see if he'd be interested, sent him the book, and we both went to Sony with the new script and the book, and then they said, "No, we're not interested." So, but nicely they let us take it to Amazon.
There was a quirkiness and a lightness to the music. So, how did you come to think of this and what you wanted to tell with the score?
Well, a lot of that has to do with Gus. Gus doesn't like to play things necessarily in what would seem like the obvious way, and he likes to kind of mix things up a lot. So I already knew that from working with him for many times, that he may not want to play really sentimental where it seems like it would be, and he likes to take things from one place and try. He likes to experiment a lot, which is why it's so fun collaborating with Gus.
Was the book a good guide for you? Did it?
Yes.
Did you balance the before and after stories in his life as the book tells them?
Well, no, and I think that the book is 10 chapters. I think we concentrate on only 3 of those 10 chapters. Mainly the middle chapter about Donnie and his working for his own recovery. The beginning, we have a little bit of his in the beginning of the book, he writes about his car crash. We get into the cartooning, but we don't really go into the cartoon world, which is a large part of the end of the book. There's his childhood we leave out. So yeah, it was really like just a section of the book.
You two have worked on projects together. When did this relationship click and create a kind of synergy?
To Die For. It was kind of like one of those funny random things where my girlfriend at the time...
That was 23 years ago.
Yeah, and she knew Gus, and that was Caroline Thompson, the writer, and she came over one day and said, I was just met. Where did you guys meet? I forget. And she came back.
We had the same agent, John Burnham.
Okay, you had the same agent. Said, would you like to meet him? I go, yeah, shit, yeah. I was a huge fan of Drugstore Cowboy, so I say, whatever he's doing, I'd love to do it. And so To Die For, we just jumped in and started doing it.
And how was it, an awkward collaboration, or did you click at once?
That one was funny. You describe it.
Well, I mean, I thought that the only time that I'd worked with a composer up until that point, like an official composer, because Katie Lang did Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. Elliot Goldenthal had done Drugstore Cowboy, but sort of from New York, so from afar. And so I thought what you do is you just send the cut to the composer, and they just send back the composed film. And I was basically trying to do that. I was sending you the VHS and said,
Yeah, how does that work?
tell us when you're done.
I meanwhile, was kind of in the other side. That was probably, I'd done 30 or 40 films, and I was used to, like, the director will, everything has to come from them. So I just kept sending him stuff saying, well, which you have to choose. And he goes, well, I don't know. What do you just have to go? But
So I remember you were living in Topanga, so I would go up to Topanga and listen to the choices. It was A, B, C, or D, and then I'd choose C, and then you go like, well, you should listen to B again.
Once you do this, when you sit down to edit and you have so many choices before you in telling this story, what was it you didn't want us to know about John, or at least not to express in the film?
Well, I mean, there was lots of ways to kind of approach the story of a guy who was a great success in his cartooning, and one of them was the story of that success and like the step-by-step advances he made in the cartooning world, the publishing world, and there was a lot of mentorship with Sam Gross, a cartoonist who was editor for National Lampoon, and he was a New Yorker contributor. People like that were like sort of saying like, never give away your originals, like always make copies, or like always give them like a backup, or let them send 4 at a time. All these rules that of cartooning that we could have gotten into the machinations of that. Also, I think we could have gotten into the controversy that he was causing, because nobody really knew that the creator of his cartoons was a quadriplegic himself, and that his jokes were often about disabilities. And so he would get hate mail, and he would get angry letters that he sort of just enjoyed, but didn't really respond. Didn't try and explain anything to the readers. And we didn't get into that side of it either. These were all in my early outlines, these sections.
For Joaquin Phoenix, who came to this much later, obviously, than you or Robin Williams, who'd been immersed in it for so long, how did he prepare to be Callahan, to make himself into this guy?
This is the kind of question that Joaquin would like start looking at the floor. But I can answer for him. Let's see. He is sort of, he does, I think even when he read the book, he's probably already thinking about, the possibilities. So he's getting inspired. And then as he gets closer, I mean, he had a book that was marked in like 4 different colors, and like things written in the margins, and extra pages pasted in that he lost on the set one day. Which was shocking because so much stuff was in it. I thought, can he continue to work without this Bible that he had created? So he's spending enough time to actually create this crazy-looking version of the book.
Did somebody steal it, do you think?
No, he found it. I forgot. It was probably in a car or something like that. But we did find it.
It's a very Callahan kind of thing to do.
Yeah, and he did have me go through every page of the book with him, and we would talk for about 10 minutes or more, or 15 minutes on each page, or sometimes longer. And I think that took about 2 weeks. So it was like him making sure that what he was going to do was going to fit into what you wanted to be happening. And he wanted to like hear it very clearly, like what was supposed to be happening in each scene. So he knew the parameters of where he should go, which was very sort of like Danny, like multiple choice. Like, I could go this way or that way. But no, just to make sure that he wasn't going to end up like in a moment where he didn't understand what was supposed to be happening.
Thank you both. Will you please thank the panel?
Thank you.